How's it going, everybody? We're going to transition a little bit away from the routing componentry of SD-WAN and focus more on the templatizing of the SD-WAN solution. So templates are not policies, right? It's not how we're going to control how SD-WAN forwards traffic or dictates what goes on inside the network, but it's a way for us to make it easier to deploy devices and easier to control them. So there's some pros and cons to working with them. So there's a couple of different types of templates, but the main con that I found with the templates is that you can't batch changes together ahead of time. So if you've got a number of changes you have to make, so that depending on how your environment is laid out, at least nothing that I've found anyway. And I'm working with a slightly older version, 18.4. So if something changed in maybe 19 or 20 and I'm not aware of it yet, I haven't upgraded to those versions yet. So, but to my understanding, when I've made a change to something, you make a change and you have to update the template. So when you go to a feature template, which is used to configure devices, individual features, interfaces, VPNs, system, banner, the IP addressing, the routing, all that type of stuff. Feature templates are called by a device template, which is the parent object for the most part, and feature templates are considered the child objects. When you configure your child objects to basically tell the vEdge device what it's going to be doing, you map that to a device template, and then the device template gets pushed to the device, hence the device template. But when you need to go in and make an adjustment to a feature template, when you make that adjustment to that feature template, you can't say, I'm going to make an adjustment to feature template 1, 3, and 6, and then push, right? You're going to make an adjustment to 1, then push, then 3, then push, then 6, then push. So it's kind of, that's the only con that I've really found. And as I've progressed through, I've found some things here and there that I wish were a little bit different. But you know what? I'm not in charge of the operations or the development. So with that being said, it's like, okay, like to take it for what it is. It's meant to help mass deployments. If you have a very large solution deployment, several hundred vEdge devices, this is an easy way for you to mass deploy changes instead of having to log into individual devices at a time or try to rely on like SNMP or SolarWinds Config Manager that would manually go out and do the push. This probably could be automated somehow with like Ansible or Python, for those of you that are working in that stuff. But I have not started Ansible or Python. I'm not an automation person at all. I'm becoming less and less resistant to it as I've been playing with SD-WAN. I'm starting to see the power of it, but I really wanted to dive into the individual technology first before I started diving into, the automation components. So let's talk a little bit about how the templates work. I've described them at a high level, but let's take this a little bit deeper. The idea is you first have the feature template. The feature template, I'll just put FT here. It first calls the actual device that you're going to be working with, because not every device is the same. So you're going to call the device. In this case here, we're going to be using the vEdge cloud. When you use the vEdge cloud, you select the vEdge cloud, and then there's a number of templates that you're going to call from. So, and we'll take a look at the GUI. It'll make it much easier to break this down. Once you've configured your template, so you're going to have like a system template and a banner. Then you'll have your VPN. Then you'll have your VPN interface, etc., etc., etc. And then you're going to have a device template, which will also call vEdge cloud. And then you're going to start taking the system or the templates that you created, the feature templates, and you're going to start calling them from different attributes within inside of the device template. And then once all that's configured, or I should say added, then depending on how you configure the feature template, you may have to manually populate a bunch of information into the feature template before you push it down to the actual vEdges. And then once that happens, you'll be able to go forward with your deployment and then convert from CLI over to vManage and go from there. So let's talk about this. So let's actually walk through the GUI and take a look at how that works, because it'll be a lot easier to try to explain than it will be to try to go that route. So let's go to monitor and network, and then we'll go back over to dashboard and see if there's any updates. Okay, so I still have one partial connection down. I'm not sure why I've got... Did I... You know what? I wonder, did I not do... On vEdge 5, if I show... No, on vEdge 5. Let's do an admin, show run VPN 0. Oh, because I have the interface there. Okay, that's why. And it's no shutdown. Okay, so it's turned on. So let me go ahead, and I have restrict. So let me go fix this real quick. VPN 0, no, or it should say interface GE 0/0 and shutdown. Let me commit that real quick. And do show run VPN 0. What should end up happening now is the VPN G0/0 is down, so I should not be trying to form a connection over the top of it. So the control should go to be up. So that should fix that problem here momentarily. Okay, cool. So it just dawned on me what the problem was with that one. So let's go ahead and go back to monitor and to network, and we're going to see that. Go back to dashboard. It'll eventually update. It'll probably take a couple minutes for this to update, but not that big of a deal. So in order to work with this, you're going to click on configuration and then templates. And out of the gate, you have none, right? There are some factory default templates, but there are none created for you to use, really. So you have device templates. You can create templates if you want to. You have to obviously select the device model you're going to work with, and then you have to name it and all that type of stuff. I'm going to go start on feature templates. Here you're going to say add template. We're going to scroll down here to vEdge Cloud and select it. And as you can see, we have a number of templates that we can use. We have, basic information, AAA, BFD, security, OMP, system. Under VPN, you got all the VPN options available to you to actually create the VPN itself, create the interfaces that you're going to be tying, so routed interfaces. And then underneath other templates, you have banner, DHCP server, OSPF, BGP, so on and so forth. So we're going to start off with the system template. So I'm going to come in here and type in vEdge_system template. Something very, very obvious, right? We're going to copy and paste that into the description. You must have a description, so both the system name or template name and the description both must be populated. Now, here in the middle, you'll notice that you've got it says system site ID. If you click down here, you're going to have, in this case here, it's only the one, but if you have global and you have device specific. So if you plug in global, you can plug in, if you all have the same site, which you shouldn't, then you could plug in whatever value you want. But you should have device specific, and it'll be, you enter the key, you can say system site ID. I'm okay with that. Site system IP, device specific, there's only that one option. Now if we come down here to time zone, you'll notice that we have three different options. You have global, device specific, and default. Default automatically will revert to UTC, but if I wanted to say device specific, I could come in here and say system time zone. So I'll go ahead and do that. And that changes it from what it was to default of UTC to system time zone. So that means that'll be anything you see set up like this, where you have something in brackets, is something you have to populate when you go to push the configuration to the individual vEdges. So you'll have to populate the site ID, the system IP, the time zone, the host name, all that type of stuff. Now the console baud rate is another one that you're going to have to specify, and I'm going to say globally it's going to be 115.200. Then you come down here a little bit further, you have GPS if you want to add that in, tracker if you want to add in tracking, and if you wanted to limit the connectivity, you could do that as well. So there's some options in here. If you wanted to use it, you could, but we're not going to be taking advantage of any of this stuff right now, at least for right now. So I'm going to go click on save. So now I've created my system template for my vEdges, and I'm good to go, right? The next thing I have to do is I'm going to create a banner, choose vEdge Cloud, and I'm going to come down here to banner. Now, one thing that I want you to pay attention to is that when you're doing the CLI part, it's actually not too bad because you can pretty much create a little script inside of Notepad and then edit whatever variables you need, so templatize it and then paste it into the console and you're in good shape, right? That's pretty obvious. When you're dealing with the CLI, it's pretty easy to get up and running, and you could even have an entire script written in Notepad and just dump it into the box when you're good to go and everything should work relatively easily. All that's well and great. The problem with that is it's initially your barrier to entry. Let me go ahead and just whiteboard this so it'll be easier to draw than it is to use my hands. Initially with the CLI, you're going to be like this. Your bell curve will be like this, slowly, and then eventually when you get to a large amount of devices, you'll be way up here, and then it might taper back up, but it might stay up like this for an extended period of time. Right? That's the CLI variation. With the template, that's a bad color. Let's go to green. When I go to the template, right, my barrier to entry will actually be like this. A lot of initial configuration at the beginning, but then that'll taper off and rather quickly will fade back out. And then it'll be pretty easy. It might have a little blurb here and there, but as you can see, CLI is easier to start with, but more difficult to work with long term. Where with the template, when you're dealing with the template, you can create the template and then it's there, right? You can call it template anytime you'd like. You can once you've got a template created, you can call that from a device template. Maybe you've got 20 different devices you've got deployed in your SD-WAN solution. The cool thing is you can have templates for every type of device, and then all you have to do is keep them organized. And then if you need to add, say for instance, you're going to add an ISR 4K at one site, but you're going to add an ASR 1000 at another site, you're going to do vEdge Cloud at another site, so on and so forth. You can take advantage of those areas, and once you've built those templates, it's just a matter of that particular device comes online, and then you just basically, once it's added to vManage and it's onboarded and it's part of the fabric, then it's nothing to just push a bunch of templates down to it and boom, it's configured, right? You're not having to spend a few hours trying to do this. It's whatever time frame you need, and as long as a device template's already been created for it, it's just a matter of adding that device to that device template and then pushing the device template down to the device. Makes it very easy to work with. So let's go ahead and continue our layout here. So I'm going to come in here and type in vEdge banner template. I tend to like using this because it makes it very easy to understand what it is. And then underneath here, if you put in global and you type in authorized users only, for example, let me go ahead and get out of the way. And then underneath message of the day, I'm going to do, say for example, device specific. You have banner MOTD, you'd have to populate that field. So we're just going to say global for everybody. We're going to type in welcome to the next gen of networking. Boom. We're going to go ahead and click save. So now I have two templates created. I'm going to go ahead and continue on. I'm going to vEdge Cloud with all of these. That's the only device I have running currently. Now I've got the system and I've got the banner. Now I need to start adding VPNs. The very first one I'm going to add is VPN 0. So underneath here, I am going to go ahead and say template name is going to be vEdge _ VPN 0 _ template. And then copy and paste this in. And what I'm going to do is, in the basic configuration, the only option I have is global. So I'm going to type in 0. And then if you wanted to, you can create a name. We're going to type in here device, or globally, we're going to type in transport VPN. We're going to come down a little bit further. And underneath VPN 0, we're not going to do anything here because we don't need to. Because right now we're just trying to get the transport connectivity between the vEdges. That's where we don't need to worry about that with OMP. Because remember, OMP is used on the server side of the vEdge. So VPN 1, VPN 30, VPN 100, for example, it's used to take VPN 1 routes that are learned, interfaces, connected routes, static routes, dynamic routes, that type of stuff, and propagate that over to the vSmart. Then it'll push that down to other vEdges down into that VPN. Until you have that VPN created, it's not going to do anything. So here, you don't use OMP in VPN 0. That's not what it's for. Now I'm going to create an IPv4 route, and I'm going to create, it's going to be a global route, 0.0.0.0/0, and I'm going to specify the next hop. So I've already selected next hop. I'm going to come in here and click on Add Next Hop. I'm going to click on Add Next Hop one more time, and then I'm going to say device specific. So it says underneath here, I'm going to say VPN 0, and then I'm going to type in G0-0 underscore next hop IP address, next hop IP. I'll pull all this other stuff out. This is all this extraneous information. So it's going to say VPN 0 for gig 0/0, because you can't put a slash in here. That is not an allowed character, so you have to put a dash. And click inside of there, so it's VPN 0 gig 00 VPN next hop IP. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add, and then add one more time, and then you're in good shape. So now we have that in there, and I'm going to add another route. And you might say, why are you adding another route? Or actually, I'm sorry, I don't need another route right now, because when it comes time for me to transition to the service VPN, I'll have to create a static route inside of the service VPN to point to the router's loopback addresses that are sitting behind the vEdges. I'm going to come down here a little bit further, and I'm pretty much done. There's nothing else that I really need to add in here. I could add a service. This is not a service VPN. This is if you wanted to add in a firewall, IPS, or some other type of service that you want to advertise to the rest of the network. Let's say you have a firewall sitting at a data center, and you want to have all the traffic in the network be sent to the data center to be inspected by the firewall, and then to be sent back out over the SD-WAN fabric to the destination network that it's going to, the destination vEdge. Well, you can inject a firewall. It's called service chaining. So you can basically, no matter where in the network you are, you can basically tell SD-WAN, hey, if you got traffic coming into a vEdge device, go ahead and point it towards the data center, have it come across the WAN, or the WAN fabric, internet and MPLS, to the data center, pass it through the firewall, send it back out the firewall, back to the vEdge, and then onto the destination vEdge or the destination network. Pretty cool stuff. We'll take a look at that in an upcoming video, but we're going to say cancel there because we're not actually going to be doing servers. But this is not a service VPN. This is not a LAN-facing connection. This is if you want to inject the capability into the service that isn't already there. And I'm going to click on Save. So now I've got a VPN 0 template. What I'm going to go do is I'm actually going to save, or I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to change this. This is going to be VPN 512. 512 is going to be our out-of-band management VPN template, and we need to have one. If we don't have one created, it will. We could use the default one, but I have ran into problems where it won't push correctly if we use the default one. So what I got to come in here now and do is do an edit, and I have to change this guy here to be 512, and then this guy right here will be MGMT, and then I'll come down to the default route, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it because I don't want a default route, and click on update. There we go. Now you might be like, well, didn't you say that for every feature template that you update, you had to push the update down to the vEdges? You're right, I did, but none of these feature templates are being called from a device template, and there's no device templates currently being used by a device. So until the feature template is tied to a device template that's actually applied to a device, you don't need to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and add the next template, which is going to be vEdge Cloud again, and this time it's going to be a VPN interface. So in this guy here, I'm going to type in vEdge underscore VPN 0 underscore int G0/0 underscore template. Copy, and actually let me adjust that real quick. INT for interface G0/0. Copy and paste that in. And then underneath here, I'm going to check this down to be global and say no shutdown. The interface name, you have to specify something here, which is going to be GE0/0. And the description will be, I'll say, for this particular solution, yours might vary, but I'll just type in iNet interface so we know what it is. Now there's IP addressing underneath here. If we wanted to create a static IP, we could, which is what we're going to be doing. And underneath here, we're going to come in and say device specific. So I'm going to type in underneath here VPN 0, and then underneath here it's going to be, I'll specify int underscore G0-0 underscore. So it's going to be VPN 0 interface G0/0. Let me go ahead and edit that one more time. I got one too many underscores in there. IPv4 address. Perfect. So then I don't have to type in the IP address here. I'll have to type it in later. And then, will this be a tunnel interface? Will I have a tunnel coming over the top of it? The answer to that is yes, I will. So I'm going to check this and go to global, turn this on, and then I need to specify the color. So underneath here I'll say global, and I'll choose public internet. Restrict, I'll turn that to global and turn that on. And then that's what I need to do. Now, if I had vEdges that were singly connected, so like for example, I have vEdge 5, which connects to MPLS only, I will create a bunch of MPLS only templates so that I can push specific data to him. So if you've got a mishmash of connections, you're going to want to create templates that map to the individual devices that map that. So if you only have one device that does that, then you're only going to have one set of templates for that particular device. But if you scale that solution, so add more and more vEdges to the MPLS service, but not internet as well, then you would just simply start adding, you push that MPLS only template down to your MPLS only connection vEdge, and you'll be in good shape. And beyond that, there's a bunch of other stuff in here. You do have to allow service. You do have to set this to global and click on, and all that good stuff. We're not turning on NAT. We're not turning on VRP. We're not doing any ACL or QoS right now. And we're not doing ARP 2.1x or any advanced capabilities down here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. Now here's the cool part about doing the templates. The first time I played with this stuff, I had to be honest with you, it was just like, wow, this is a lot of legwork. Like I was watching videos and I was reading the documentation. Now, this seems like it's going to be painful, but because I was doing it one at a time. So to speed this process up, you can actually click on here and go to copy again, and then you just swap out some information right here and right here. Click on copy, and now it's been updated. Now it's gig 0/1. Then we come in here and edit, and then we just swap out the information. In here we just say gig 1, and this will be the MPLS interface, like that. And then we come down here, we edit this device specific. This will be G0/1. Actually, it didn't work quite the way I wanted it to. There we go. Int gig 0-1. And the color will not be public internet, it will be MPLS. Restrict is still on. Allow services all, and none of the other details need to be associated. I'm going to click on update. And there we go. So now I've created my VPN 0 template and my interfaces that are going to go inside of that. I need to create one more template for VPN 512. I'm going to click on add, and vEdge Cloud, VPN interface. This will be vEdge underscore VPN 512 underscore int underscore eth 0. Copy and paste that in. And then it's going to say shutdown. It will be yes. Static IP address, we're going to say default is fine. No tunnel interface, and I'm good to go. I can just click on save. What did I miss? Oh, the interface name is going to be eth0. And then save. There we go. So now we have, so right now, as it sits right now, we're going to actually go back to where we were before. So now you might say, okay, what about, you've got the, let me go ahead and get this out of the way real quick. So you've got the you've got vEdge 5, right? You got vEdge 5, you've got vEdge 4, 3, 1, and 2. Where are you connecting this particular template that you're building? Okay, so where I'm connecting the template that I'm building currently is I'm going to be associating this to vEdge 3 and vEdge 4. Okay, I will be creating a new set of templates, basically copying and pasting what I have for these guys right here, but I'll be renaming them and I'll say dual vEdge sites. So right now we just got these guys right now, I should have probably named them single vEdge and then have another set of templates called dual vEdge sites. So I don't want to push this template down to everybody because I will be, because if you start messing with templates at the feature template after something's been pushed, again, you're going to have to update that template to every site that it needs to go to. Where if you're site specific, so if you have sites where there's only a single vEdge, obviously, and they're pretty much the same configs, you can create a set of templates that map to a specific device template. So I'll have a device template. I'll name the device template single vEdge single vEdge single device template, and then I'll have another one vEdge dual device template, and then I'll start adding the vEdge templates to it that need to be associated. So it'll make more sense when I get that far. But right now I'm just focusing on the one because I don't have a lot more to configure. But you'll also notice that in VPN 0 I also have BGP. So I need to go and do that one now. So let's go ahead and add template for vEdge Cloud. And we're going to click on down here BGP. And I need to come in here vEdge VPN 0 underscore BGP template. Copy and paste. And I'm going to specify that shutdown will be global, will be no. The AS number will be specific to the device, which is fine, BGP AS number. And I'm going to come down here to the network command. I'm not going to redistribute anything right now. I'm just going to advertise. And I'm going to add a new network statement. And underneath here, I'm going to say device specific. And it says, it's a long BGP network address prefix. I'm going to just say, remove some of this extraneous command. Address and prefix are pretty much the same thing. BGP network prefix, network. See, again, just extraneous commands. Why things are set up that way, I don't know. Try to simplify it where you can. And you want to mark this as optional. If you don't have a site connected that has MPLS, then yes, you would want to disconnect that. I'll click on mark optional, but I'll go ahead and add it anyway. And the neighbor, we're going to have to add a neighbor. And again, address will be device specific. And we'll choose that. And then the remote AS, this will be global, and I'll put in 100 because everybody's going to be connected to the same remote AS. For the address family, I'm going to say global and turn it on. And we're going to choose the IPv4 unicast. And we're not going to be doing anything fancy, but at some point in the future, not with VPN 0, but with other VPNs that we create, especially at the HQ site, so site 12, we'll go through and we'll do some internal LAN routing with BGP, just show you guys how that works. And we'll be taking a look at the route policies that will come into play. Let's actually minimize this guy because I don't need any of this stuff on at the moment. And don't forget to add this because right now we've got the BGP neighbor address, we've got the remote AS number, and the unicast connections on. We've got the route prefix. We're going to click on add that so that it does add, and then we'll come down. There's nothing more for us to work in here. We'll click on save. All right, so now we've got that going for us. We have BGP. So now I'm pretty comfortable saying that all the templates that we need to create are created. Now what we'll have to do is go through and tie these templates to a device template. So let's go to device. We're going to create one from feature template. Choose vEdge Cloud from the dropdown. And the template is going to be vEdge single device template. Copy and paste. So now here's the fun part. Now you get to come down here in the system, just click drop down. If you created a template for it, it'll populate. Scroll down a little bit more for transport, VPN 0, create the VPN 0 one. And then down here, gig 00. And then if you need to add one, just click the VPN interface and then gig 01. There we go. VPN 512, VPN 512 template, add a VPN interface and call ETH0 from there. We're not adding a service VPN. So if we wanted to, we could create a service VPN here. This is where we would actually, if we wanted to create a service VPN and push it through the template, this would actually be a LAN-facing interface. This is not the same thing as the, if you wanted to add a firewall, that's separate from this. Same look and feel, but different type of thing. So anything except VPN 0 and VPN 512. We have the banner template. We're going to add that, and we're in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and say create. Give that a couple seconds to do its thing. And now we have that added. Now we need to go ahead and attach devices. So I'm going to add 3 and 4 respectively, because then I'll add 2 at a separate time. I'll go ahead and walk you guys through how to do a dual device and then MPLS only. So I'm going to click on add those 2. Click on attach. Now they're attaching. So now I need to come in here and I can either populate these fields this way and then drag it right, or I can simply click on here and click on edit device template and then populate these fields. So in this thing here, we got America, and I'm just going to choose, I'll choose Chicago for these 2. The address for gig 00's next hop in this particular case will be, for this guy will be 192.1.3.1. The VPN 0 G01 interface will be 172.31.13.2/24. The gig 00 will be 192.1.3.2/24. The host name will be vEdge 3. The system IP will be 10.3.0.1. And then the site ID will be 3. I'm going to click on update. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this guy. Edit device template. And then underneath here, it'll be 192.1.4.1. Underneath G0/1 will be 172.31.14.2/24. And then 192.1.4.2/24. And then time zone will be America and Chicago, wherever that's hiding. It could be anything else too. Doesn't really matter. Host name will be vEdge 4. The system IP will be 10.4.0.1, and then the site ID will be 4. And click on update. Okay, so now I'm going to click on next, and now this is the you can actually check the config before you push it. I'm going to wait for that to finish loading. It usually takes a couple seconds for it to do its thing. And I'm going to click on config diff. And here we're adding the clock time zone of America, Chicago. We're adding the banner. And then we are removing the router BGP config. That seems weird. Why would I be doing that? Oh, I know what I made. I made a mistake. Okay, so I'm glad I caught that before it got any further. So let's go. So that's a mistake I made. So click on templates and click on device template. We're going to go ahead and here and edit. I did not add the BGP template. So that's my bad. So I'm going to click on BGP, and BGP we're going to add the BGP template. I thought that was a little weird. And I'm going to click on update. And then we're going to go ahead and attach devices. And then 3 and 4 again. Attach. All right, so I'm going to click over here, edit device template. There we go, that's a little better. So Next hop for G0/0 will be 192.1.3.1. This will be 172.31.13.2/24. This will be 192.1.3.2/24. The BGP AS number will be 65003. The network prefix here will be 172.31.13.0/24. If it says optional, you don't actually have to populate it. It'll be like, well, maybe this site doesn't have it, so you don't have to worry about it. But in this case here we do, so we're going to populate it. The BGP neighbor address will be 172.31.13.1. The time zone will be America, and I believe ADAC is in Alaska, but don't quote me on that. And then host name will be vEdge 3. System IP will be 10.3.0.1. Site ID will be 3. Click on update and do the same thing for vEdge 4. Add a device template. 192.1.4.1. We have 172.31.14.2/24. And then we have 192.1.4.2/24. BGP AS number is 65004. 172.31.14.0/24. The neighbor address will be 172.31.14.1. Time zone is America. Come down to Chicago again. Actually, let's do, didn't know Dawson Creek was a real place. Denver. And then we'll say that vEdge 4. The system IP is 10.4.0.1 and the site ID is 4. Click on update and we'll say next, and we'll do that same thing again. So close that out, come in here, and then wait for it to do its thing. This usually takes a couple seconds for it to populate, as you previously saw. But I'm glad you guys got to watch me do that. So now if we scroll through here again, we can see that BGP is, you can see that the VPN 1 interface is going away. And we notice that BGP didn't get bothered, right? BGP is, the only thing we're removing is the timers element. We don't care about that. And then we're adding a description. We're taking away DHCP, the MTU, adding a description. We're removing VPN 1, which is no big deal. We're shutting down the VPN 512 interface and we're adding the name of management to it. And that's the same thing with vEdge 4. I'm going to go ahead and click on configure devices and click on that and click on OK. And now it's going to go ahead and push. So I'm going to hit the refresh button, expand this out, and then it's the hurry up and wait game. So I'm going to pause until this is done. This usually takes a couple of minutes. And then once we're done, we'll go ahead and bring you guys back in. Okay, so the push was good. So if we go back over here to devices, you can see that vManage is the mode. So it's no longer CLI, it's vManage. And if we click on the templates, we can see that they're good to go. So if we pull up the command line and we bring this guy over, let's go ahead and minimize this guy. Bring this guy over. Let me scoot this over so we don't need it to be quite that big. Let's look at vEdge 3. He's right here, admin and then admin. And we look at the show run. We can see that everything's looking good here. We have the transport going on. Everything looks good there. If we do a show IP route, we're not going to see anything because we're not receiving any routes. But if we look at the show control connections, we are online, which is what we want to see. If we do a show BFD sessions, we are online. Everything's looking pretty good. If we do a show IPsec outbound connections, we should have a couple connections going out, which we do. We have a number of them. So as far as I'm concerned, the device templates that we created, the feature templates that we created and tied to the device template, they're working just the way we want to. So what I'm going to go do in the next video is I've got 3 and 4 added to a single device template. I'm going to go ahead and basically copy a lot of the stuff that they've got going on, and I'm going to copy those, rename them, and then create vEdge 2's templates, create a vEdge 2 device template, push that config, And depending on how long that takes me, if it's under 15-20 minutes, then we'll do vEdge 5. We'll go ahead and do him as an MPLS only connection. So that's the next video, so that we can get all of that squared away. Templates are important because they pretty much are how we're going to do everything. A lot of the policies we'll be using templates to push and stuff like that for the localized stuff. Centralized, not so much, but we'll take a look at those details when we get there. Until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me, and I will catch all of you in the next video.